The Champions League quarterfinals are happening really soon, so it's only right that I give you my predictions for this set of games. And we got some exciting clashes coming up, like PSG versus Aston Villa, FC Barcelona versus Borussia Dortmund, Arsenal versus Real Madrid, and of course Bayern Munich versus Inter Milan. So with that being said, let's find out what I think will happen with my predictions. And trust me, you're gonna want to stay until the end, because I might have a crazy upset in this video. First, let's start off with an underrated matchup in my opinion, PSG versus Aston Villa. And let's start this off by talking about PSG first, one of the best teams in the world at the moment. If we literally just look at their League 1 performances, they're still undefeated and are running away with the league title. And if we look at their Champions League performances thus far, I mean ever since matchday 7 of the group stages, they've been on fire. They beat Man City from behind 4-2, they beat Stuttgart 4-1 away from home, they absolutely destroyed Brest 10-0 over 2 legs in the playoffs, and then against Liverpool, despite getting a very tough draw against the club that finished on top of the new UCL League phase, they took care of business. Sure, they lost 1-0 at home in the first leg due to Liverpool's only shot on target from Harvey Elliott, but they dominated the match, having 27 shots, 10 of them being on target, and having 71% possession. And if it wasn't for an Alisson masterclass, where he was saving multiple shots left and right in both halves, and VAR chalking up Kvaratskhelia offsides goal, this game could have gone very differently. But after the game, PSG were feeling very confident that they could come back in the second leg at Anfield, and Luis Enrique even said so in a post-match press conference, and so did Vitinha. And initially I was laughing at this, because coming back at Anfield in the second leg against this Liverpool side, I was like, no way that's happening, bruh. And this is coming from the same Liverpool fan who said in my first leg prediction video that PSG was gonna win this round 16 tie, and I just had a weird feeling about it. But since we won 1-0 in the first leg, I switched my prediction to Liverpool in the second leg prediction video that I made. And for that, I'm sorry Liverpool fans, because Jigsbuto striked again. I should have just stuck with my PSG prediction, man. Because in the second leg, although it was a much more even affair with PSG having 21 shots and Liverpool having 19, PSG had the better opportunities at goal, with them having 8 shots on target and us only having 3 at home, which is nuts. Not only that, even though in the second leg, Liverpool were having the greater chances initially, PSG would get themselves back in the game, and Ousmane Dembele would eventually score in the 12th minute to even out the tie. And this result will stay all the way until the penalty shootout, and of course, in typical Liverpool unlucky fashion, we will lose both coin tosses, and PSG got to take the penalty kicks in front of their fans, while also being able to go first, which is statistically an advantage. I had a feeling that after this coin toss happened, that it just wasn't going to be our day, and I was right, because PSG were scoring every penalty thanks to Vitinha, then Mr. Big Schlong Controller Ramos, then Ousmane Dembele, who shot the pen with his weaker right foot, and then Desire Doué scoring his cold penalty too. While on our end, although Salah scored first, Donnarumma staying in the middle showed that he wasn't afraid not to dive, and eventually these mind games would play a part in him saving Darwin Núñez's penalty. Of course, Darwin was gonna miss, we all knew it, and then saving Curtis Jones's penalty, knocking out the initial favorites to win the Champions League in just the round 16. So if PSG can knock out my club Liverpool in this way, one of the best teams in the world currently, what makes you think that they can't do the same against Aston Villa? Now yes, Aston Villa have been very impressive in this 24-25 Champions League campaign. They managed to finish in a top 8 spot during the league phase, which made sure that they didn't have to participate in the playoffs and secured themselves an automatic ticket to the round 16, beating teams like Bayern Munich 1-0, Leipzig 3-2, and Celtic 4-2 on the way to getting there. And then for the round 16 draw, they did get the luckiest in terms of playing the lowest ranked team still left in Club Brugge. And initially I thought maybe Club Brugge could pull off the upset with them actually beating Villa in the league phase 1-0 at home, but the round 16 games went completely different for them, because Villa smoked Brugge. In the first leg, although Brugge had the more shots and possession while also playing at home, they failed to get the result they wanted, with them allowing Leon Bailey to score early in the 3rd minute, and despite the Kuiper scoring to bring Brugge back level, Brandon Michel would score a very unlucky own goal in the 82nd minute to put Brugge back behind, and then after a sloppy foul from Chiles in the box, experienced Champions League player Marco Asensio would take away his penalty to give Villa a 3-1 win away from home in the first leg. And then in the second leg, Villa were just completely dominant. Club Brugge really had no chance. On the stat sheet, Villa had 14 shots to Club Brugge's measly 4, while having 10 of them on target, while Brugge only had 1. Additionally, Kirani Sabe of Club Brugge would sabotage his own team by getting a red card in the 16th minute for taking down Marcus Rashford, who was running in on goal. And although Villa couldn't make that specific opportunity count from that free kick, they would make Brugge pay for their mistakes in the second half. And this is mainly due to Marco Asensio, who has been balling out for Aston Villa ever since he joined them, and he managed to score with a good finish in the 50th minute. Ian Maatsen would double that in the 57th minute, and Marco Asensio once again would score in the 61st minute to help Villa win that second leg match against Brugge 3-0 and 6-1 overall in aggregate to make the quarterfinals to play against PSG. And fun fact, that's literally the team that loaned out Asensio to Villa, and that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch. And luckily, Marco Asensio will be allowed to play against PSG, so I'm definitely excited to see how this one's going to play out. And if he scores, is he going to celebrate? Who knows, but I low-key hope it'll happen. But in all honesty, although I rate Aston Villa as a side and Unai Emery as a manager, this guy is a beast in European competitions, especially in the Europa League. Saying that they could beat this PSG side is something I don't really know if I'm comfortable in saying. Look, both Asensio and Unai Emery Emery wants to prove their old club something. And Marcus Rashford has already dunked on PSG once before. But this PSG side, man, there's something different about them. And PSG managed to take down my club Liverpool, something Aston Villa has failed to do on both occasions when they played against us this season. Not only that, Aston Villa are currently 9th place in the Premier League and probably have to focus on trying to get into a European spot. Because let's be honest, winning the Champions League is far from a guarantee for them. And they've got some tough fixtures coming up. So with that being said, I got PSG making it to the semifinals with relative ease if I'm keeping it 100. And for some reason, if Aston Villa does beat PSG, screw it, I'll give away a $25 Amazon gift card. How about that? However, the only way y'all can win this though is if you guys join the Discord server. The link is in the description. So make sure you guys don't miss out on this opportunity and join the server. But yeah, I got PSG winning, simple as that. Moving on to the next quarterfinal tie, let's talk about FC Barcelona versus Borussia Dortmund. And this is definitely an intriguing matchup to say the least. But let's go over Barcelona first. Now Barca right now are currently in the form of their lives. They recently smacked down Real Sociedad 4-0, recently beat Atletico Madrid from behind 4-2, and they did amazingly against Benfica, the round 16 opponent, getting by them with ease. Although the first leg was a bit tricky with Kubarsa getting sent off for tackling the last man Pavlidis who was running at goal, and them getting dominated chances wise with Benfica having 26 shots to Barca's 10 and having 8 shots on target to Barca's 5. Barcelona still won the first leg 1-0 away from home thanks to Rafinha, who scored an amazing long shot in the 61st minute to give Barca that advantage. And once Barcelona secured that win away from home in the first leg, you just knew that they were going to take care of business in the second leg and move on to the quarterfinals. And that's exactly what they did. They completely dominated Benfica on the stat sheet in the second leg, having 20 shots to Benfica's 8, having 6 shots on target to Benfica's 2, having 66% of the possession on the ball, and having almost double the amount of passes compared to Benfica as well, showing that Barca simply had more motion and fluidity in the match, and the scoreline would eventually reflect that. In the 11th minute, Lamine Yamal would mix up a couple of Benfica defenders and then send in a sublime ball to Rafinha, who would tap it in to give Barca an early 1-0 advantage in the match. However, 2 minutes after that, Otamendi from Benfica would quickly equalize to give Benfica fans hope that maybe they could pull off a miraculous comeback away at Barcelona, but the club Barcelona wouldn't actually let this happen, because since the goal, they just completely dominated the match and would make it count thanks to Lamine Yamal and Rafinha again. First from Yamal, who scored an outrageous finish from outside the box in the 27th minute to give Barca the 2-1 advantage in the second leg. Que golazo by Lamine Yamal, man. This kid is so special. And then Rafinha would get his brace in the 41st minute thanks to a well-placed finish, and Barcelona would eventually win the second leg 3-1 and make the quarterfinals. It was simple business taken care of by Barca, man. Fair play to them. But now, before we get to my prediction for the game, we gotta go over Borussia Dortmund first. Now, Dortmund for me are pretty much in the same situation as last year, but just a much worse side. As we all know, these guys made the Champions League final last year before losing to Real Madrid 2-0 in that final to lose the chance of winning the Champions League. But in that season, they were also actually relatively poor in the Bundesliga, finishing 5th place and luckily securing a Champions League spot. However, like I said, this year they're even worse. Yes, they did lose some decent personnel, like Marco Reus, of course, he's a legend, Ian Monson, who left to Aston Villa, and Jadon Sancho, the loanee signing in the winter transfer window, who they have replaced somewhat well, like signing Girassi, who's been balling out in the Champions League, becoming one of the top goal scorers of the competition. But although they seem to be doing good in the Champions League, they're even worse in the Bundesliga, currently being at 11th place. Bro, they're not even in the top half of the table. What the hell is going on at Dortmund? So basically at this point, it's safe to say that Dortmund are putting all their eggs in the Champions League basket if they want to secure UCL football for next season. And to be fair to them, they are doing a pretty good job at that so far. They barely missed out on a top 8 spot in the Champions League by finishing in 10th place, only missing out by 1 point. And in the playoff round, they did get by a pretty good Sporting side 3-0 overall in the 2 legs to make the round of 16. And in the round of 16, they had a pretty difficult task of playing Lille, who secured a 7th place position on the Champions League table, meaning performance-wise, Dortmund were heading into the tie as underdogs. And initially, it seemed like Lille could beat Borussia Dortmund and make the quarterfinals, but them escaping from Signal Iduna Park with a draw thanks to a good goal by Icelandic footballer Haraldsson, who counteracted Adeyemi's brilliant finish in the first half to secure that 1-1 draw and hopefully win the second leg at home. But Dortmund had other plans, because although Lille got an early advantage to send themselves to dreamland thanks to Jonathan David, who scored in the 5th minute, Dortmund would find a way back thanks to an Emre Can penalty in the 54th minute and then a brilliant Maximilian Bayer finish in the 65th minute to win the second leg 2-1 and upset Lille by making the quarterfinals after winning 3-2 over the 2 legs. And now Dortmund have the tough challenge of playing one of the most informed teams in the world right now in Barcelona in the quarterfinals. Now Dortmund have gotten by some good opposition in the Champions League, and we can look at last year as an example when they made the final. To get to the final, they beat PSG in the semifinals and Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinals. They're used to pulling off the upset. But even as a man who loves trying to call an upset, not even I can say that Dortmund could pull something off against Barcelona. I mean, they literally already played each other in the Champions League this season, and Barcelona got by them 3-2 at Signal Iduna Park. So to say that Borussia Dortmund could get by Barcelona this time wouldn't be me being bold. It would just be me being plain stupid. So with that being said, although I kind of like Dortmund, I'm gonna have to back Barcelona and say that they'll beat BVB and make the semifinals of the Champions League. Sorry Dortmund, but business is business. Now moving on to the penultimate clash in the 24-25 Champions League quarterfinal round, let's talk about Arsenal versus Real Madrid. I can't believe the most most successful club in the world is about to play at the Emirates Stadium. Are we back in the 2000 era or something? But anyways, before we get yapping about this clash, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it and it means a lot, so thank you. And also, if you guys can, follow my Twitter and my Instagram, both at Nabuto, if you just want to hear my thoughts on football games, transfers, and overall, just to get to know me more. And also, make sure to join the Discord server, link in the description, and also follow me on Twitch. Live streams may be coming soon. So if you want to, feel free to follow my socials and also like the video. That'd be much appreciated. Thank you. Anyways, back to topic. Let's start this off by talking about Arsenal first. Now, although it is pretty funny to laugh at this club, we do have to admit they have been pretty good this season with all things considered. Yes, they have failed to capitalize on winning a Premier League title after Man City have completely capitulated, with Liverpool looking like they'll be running away with the Premier League title instead. But Arsenal are still in second place despite suffering a ton of injuries this season, like to Tomiyasu, Calafiori, Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, and their star boy Bukayo Saka, who as of right now we're still unsure whether he'll participate against Real Madrid in the quarterfinals or not. So when you take in everything I just said, Arsenal have been pretty good, and especially in the Champions League, because they finished in third place and secured an automatic ticket to the round of 16, and in the round of 16 they completely dominated their opponents PSV Eindhoven, defeating them 7-1 in the first leg away from home. Sorry to all the Brazilians watching this video right now, I know that scoreline is traumatizing to hear. And then although they drew 2-2 at home, Arsenal were definitely taking the piss in this game, as they still went through 9-3 on aggregate to the quarterfinals. So yeah, Arsenal are looking pretty good, and with Martinelli coming back, they could potentially cook in the quarters. Okay, I'm just playing. Who the hell cares whether Martinelli is back or not? He's not all that. But yeah, with Arsenal potentially accepting defeat in the Premier League title race, with it looking unlikely to win it, they can pretty much put all their focus on the Champions League this season to try and go as far as possible and potentially win their first ever Champions League. Here's the problem for Arsenal though. They're facing the kings of the competition, Real Madrid, a team who has literally won 2 out of the last 3 Champions League trophies. So yeah, it's going to be tough for a team who has never won the Champions League to try and take down a team who are trying to win their 16th. And speaking of Real Madrid, despite them having their own set of injury issues this season, they're still performing relatively well, with them currently still being the La Liga title race, being second place right now. They're still in the Copa del Rey and could potentially win that trophy, and they have a reasonable chance of winning the Champions League. I mean, it's Real Madrid. Of course they have a good chance of winning the Champions League. They practically own the competition. Now, they didn't do too well in the league phase to their standards, with them finishing in 11th place, making them have to participate in the new playoff round, but they glided by Manchester City, beating them in the first leg 3-2 away from home, and then Mbappe dunking on them in the second leg at the Bernabeu, scoring a hat-trick on them to help Madrid progress to the round of 16. And then in the round of 16, Real Madrid had to play their local rivals Atletico Madrid, and wow, this tie got real suspicious real fast. Now, Real Madrid beat Atletico Madrid fair and square in the first leg at home 2-1, thanks to a great finish from Rodrigo in the 4th minute, and then Brahim Diaz in the 55th minute. But the second leg didn't seem like it was going to go too well for Real Madrid. They literally conceded in the very first minute of the match to the most unlikely goal scorer on Atletico's team, Conor Gallagher. And then although Real Madrid had an opportunity to secure the win in normal time, Vinicius botched his penalty completely and sent that ball to space, and the game eventually had to be taken to penalties. But in the penalty shootout, it all seemed to be going well for both teams, with both of them converting their penalty kicks, until Julian Alvarez converted his. Because after he did, the penalty was taken back with the referee saying that Alvarez touched the ball twice before the ball went to the back of the net. But I don't know about y'all, but every time I look at this replay, I can't see where this double touch even happens. I haven't made a tweet about this that blew up about how BS of a call this was against Atletico Madrid, because to this day, I still have no idea whether Julian Alvarez touched the ball twice or not. I hope he did, because or else this just looks very suspicious on Real Madrid's part, man. I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, Real Madrid would eventually win on penalties 4-2, and despite playing poorly, they still progressed and managed to make the quarterfinals. And I think it's safe for me to bet on Real Madrid making the semifinals over Arsenal. I just think it's inevitable for them. Sorry, Arsenal fans, but I doubt this is gonna be your year if I'm keeping it real. And shoot, if Arsenal somehow pulls off the upset against Real Madrid, I'll give away another $25 Amazon gift card. Fuck it. But like I said, this will only be available to the people on the Discord server, so make sure y'all join that through the link in the description. But yeah, I got Real Madrid going through, just like every other sane football fan. And now let's talk about probably the most even quarterfinal clash in this year's Champions League campaign. We got Bayern Munich versus Inter Milan. And oh boy, this is gonna be a tough one to predict, I'm not gonna lie. But as the prediction go, I'm gonna tell y'all exactly what happens. First, let's review both of the teams. And let's start off with Bayern Munich in this instance. Now, Bayern are cruising their way to the Bundesliga title in my opinion. Yes, they're only 6 points ahead of second place Leverkusen right now, but I don't see a universe where Bayern allows Leverkusen to catch up. So yeah, I definitely see Harry Kane beating that trophy curse this season. However, although Bayern seems well on their way to winning the Bundesliga, the truth is recently their performances haven't been that good. In a couple of the recent Bundesliga showings, they somehow lost to relegation candidates VfL Bochum at home 3-2, and then most recently drew to a below average Union Berlin side 1-1 away from home. In the Champions League 2, for a majority of it, they were also below average, because for a team of their standards, they should easily be finishing in the top 8, but instead they finished 12th place and had to go to the playoff round. And although they eventually got by Celtic, it wasn't easy for them, as it should have been. They barely got by Celtic away from home in the first leg 2-1, which is a good result, don't get me wrong, but at home against them in the second leg, they were losing 1-0 for a majority of the game. And if Celtic just put away another good chance of theirs, Bayern would be out. Instead, Alphonso Davies equalized in the second leg at the very last minute minute of normal time to break Celtic hearts and take Bayern Munich through to the round 16. So yeah, safe to say Bayern have been underwhelming so far in the Champions League. And when they had to play Leverkusen in the round 16, I didn't have much hope for them, to be honest. But actually, they proved me and many other football fans wrong. Because against Leverkusen, they actually balled out. In the first leg at home, Harry Kane got on the end of a good Elise cross in the 9th minute and scored to give Bayern an early lead. And then in the second half in the 54th minute, Jamal Musiala pounced on a Leverkusen goalkeeping mistake, who failed to catch the ball, and Musiala would end up doubling the Bayern lead. Eventually, with Mukiele of Leverkusen getting sent off, Kane will get a penalty later in the match and will score to give Bayern a hefty 3-0 advantage in the first leg. And in the second leg, 2 away from home, they would get by Leverkusen with ease, with them preventing Leverkusen from scoring at all and scoring 2 goals themselves, with Harry Kane of course scoring the 52nd minute, and then the hero from the round 16, Alphonso Davies, scoring the 71st minute to help Bayern win 2-0 away from home and 5-0 overall in aggregate to make the quarterfinals of the Champions League. So although Bayern have been underwhelming for the majority of the season, it just seems like they know how to get results when it truly matters, and that's football heritage.
This is football heritage.
But before we get to my prediction for this tie, we gotta talk about the favorites for this quarterfinal clash first, Inter Milan. Now Inter have been one of the best clubs in Europe for a while now. I strongly believe that they would have gone far in last year's Champions League campaign if they didn't get knocked out by Atletico on penalties in the round 16. And they literally made the Champions League final the season before that too. And this season, Inter Milan is looking like one of the best teams in Europe yet again. They're currently leading at first place in this tight Serie A title race, while in the Champions League, they finished 4th place during the league phase, which allowed them to skip the playoff round entirely. And when they had to play Feyenoord in the round 16, they took care of business very casually, beating Feyenoord 2-0 away from home in the first leg, thanks to goals from Thuram and Lautaro Martinez, and then in the second leg at the San Siro, although they conceded 1 goal due to a penalty from Jacob Mulder, they still won 2-1 thanks to goals from Marcus Thuram in the 8th minute, and then Çalhanoğlu scoring from the spot in the 51st minute to help Inter win 4-1 overall and qualify to the quarterfinals of this season's Champions League campaign. So like I said, Inter took care of business very simply, and are now one of the favorites to win the Champions League this season, and are definitely the favorites to beat Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals. But here's the thing, I love to incorporate at least one upset in my predictions, and with Bayern looking like they'll win games that matter in Europe, and with the final actually being played in Munich, I feel like Bayern might have the slight edge to try and make it to the Champions League final and prove everybody wrong. And for them to get that far, they're gonna need to get by Inter Milan. And with Inter's defense being the weakest it's been in the past 3 years, and with Harry Kane just being in red hot form, I can see him putting a couple past Inter Milan. So with that being said, unsurprisingly, I'm gonna have to say that Bayern Munich will be getting past Inter and will make the Champions League semifinals. Hopefully I don't look like an idiot for saying this by the time this round is over. Bayern, I'm trusting y'all, man. But anyways, who do you guys got winning in each quarterfinal clash of this Champions League campaign? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, if you did enjoy this video, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. And please be sure to follow my Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and join the Discord community. All the links are in my YouTube description. And last but not least, if you want to learn more about one of the worst weeks of my life regarding Liverpool, with us losing to PSG and Newcastle recently, you definitely want to check out this video right here. You won't regret it.